everybody. Today on Florida's Worst Vlog, we are risking our lives in this mosquito-infested forest looking for the fabled Sasquatch. Now he's here. This is Hayden Adventure Park, where you can pay money and go on tours and actually find the Sasquatch out here in these dense woods of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Today, we're going to talk to people that have seen him. We're going to go and see presentations from people that have seen weird things in this area and heard and taken pictures, and we're going to see those pictures. Come with me and let's go explore the Squatch of Michigan on Florida's Worst Vlog. We're back, baby. We're back. So here we are at the Best Western Riverfront Inn in Marinette, Wisconsin. As you can see by the sign, we're in the right place. Here in the public library building, looks like there's a Bigfoot reading a book.
Be part of that. Come see me. I'll be over here all day. Tell me about your encounters, tell me about your ideas. I want to hear about it all. If you want to be involved in researching the salt hypothesis, I'd welcome you all.
Beautiful stuff. Hello.
Be interesting to experience it. I don't know though.
Well, I should, but I'm really good at dictating other, you know.
What interests you about the history?
What interests me? Well, I lived in Chicago, Illinois, and Carpentersville until I was 8.
Orlando, Florida, everybody, right here. Where are you from? Another Florida over on this side. Where's Royal? Royal's from Kentucky. We got a fella from Kentucky here too. Oh my gosh, you guys are awesome. Man. You know, I can't even get people from my family reunion to come from across town.
Well, hello and welcome everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank the staff and the festival for having me back again this year. But just as important, all of you who were brave enough to show up to talk about supernatural legends of the Northwoods here in the safety of the hotel conference room. My name is Chad Lewis. I'll be your presenter for this program. Now to the topic a lot of you are here for. And today you're going to hear a lot of stories of your standard Bigfoot sighting. Again, a biped somewhere between 6, 9 and above feet, 300 to 500 pounds, again covered in the fur, what we all think of a Bigfoot or Sasquatch. But Wisconsin has a case where it's a little bit different than this, a little bit more unique than this. And for that, we head to the ghost town of Steinthal, Wisconsin. Most people have never heard of the town, and for good reason. There's really nothing there anymore. But in the 1970s and 1980s, this was the paranormal hotspot of Wisconsin. Mainly thanks to this old farmhouse on the outskirts of town. Teenagers and college-age kids believed it was haunted, and it was on the outskirts of town, far from the prying eyes of any law enforcement or parents to watch over them. And they would go out to this home believing it was haunted. They would see weird lights moving from one room to the other. But when they went inside, nothing was there. They swore they heard people talking throughout the house, but when they went inside, the only thing they found were these creepy dolls that were set up to scare one another. Eventually, this story started spreading, mainly because the area was surrounded by swampland, which you can kind of see from this grainy newspaper photo of the area. That's when people started seeing a Bigfoot moving through the area. But this one, as I forewarned you, is a little bit different because this one was said to have glowing green eyes attached to it. And when I say eyes, I mean eyes. 3 of them to be exact. The townsfolk had no idea what to call this thing, so they called it the Steinthal thing.
Yeah, there are over 300 names that First Nation and Native American tribes have for these creatures. And of course, we were talking to a gentleman earlier who's Ojibwe, and they have their name for it.
Yeah.
But one thing that's profound about it is that in almost every one, I believe it's 390 or 298 out of about 300, they all include their words for man, people, or tribe.
So you honestly believe in your studies that these are part human?
No, these are not part human. These are human.
These are human.
These are human. I believe it's an adjacent human species. The way that Neanderthals were adjacent to us before. And I mean, at one time there were 4 different types of humans that were walking the earth at the same time in different locations. And I believe it's the same thing. And that's
Have you heard of the giant mounds in Minnesota?
Yep.
Do you think those are...
My hometown in Ohio has those mound builders park right next to where we're from. It's the same type of stuff.
And how tall are they saying that some of those remains are?
I've heard 11 or 12 feet. Yeah, some of these skeletons and things like that with the Salk hypothesis.
And are you in the lab on this? Are you working in the lab currently?
No, I'm a teacher.
So you don't do any lab work?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm a teacher. I'm all over the place doing all kinds of things for a charter school in Albuquerque. But this is my personal drive.
Right.
This is what I do all the time.
Now what happened last night on the walk? Anything interesting?
I was doing an infrasound experiment where I was monitoring for infrasound, and I was also emitting infrasound with apps on my phone. Excuse me. And
you were out on the farm?
Yeah, out of hide and adventure. And nobody goes out there anymore. It's not open to the public anymore. So we were privileged enough to be out there. What I did is I sent out signals at 18 hertz, and I sent out signals at 14 hertz.
Okay.
So we were getting these short little blurbs, and with the activity that we had all over the property, Barnaby leading one group all around while I kept a group at base camp, it's likely that we're going to stir something up, and I think we did. And because we had an episode out there where the first group, he was leading around a little bit, and we heard a commotion start. And we said, "Oh, they're yipping and something like that."
Sure.
And right after that, coyotes started up, and we thought it was them that had gotten, because they were trying to bait coyotes or something.
Yeah.
And Barnaby came to base camp, and he said, "How did you guys do all that stuff to get the coyotes started?"
Oh,
and I
no.
said, "We thought that was you."
We thought it was you.
And we just said it's one of those things where we say that, we look at each other.
Something's out. I'm telling you.
It's just one of those moments. My first encounter I had in January of 2000. I didn't even realize what I was looking at. I had a whole bunch of cognitive dissonance going on. I'm like, what is that? I'm looking at a brown silhouette against a black background 40 feet away, and I'm thinking it's a bear because I heard it when I got out of my car, and I thought it was a bear. And then I see this thing, and I'm going, okay, that bear, because the reason I saw it was because it went straight down.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the particular area where it was, because that was the only place a bear could have come out of there, because the whole tree line that it was part of it was lined with bushes and briars, and there was one patch in there about 15 feet wide that was open, and I knew that's where a bear would come out of, so I wanted to be able to watch that. And I saw motion go straight down, and I looked at it, and its head reached the canopy of the trees 5 feet up. And because it had just sat down, I'm looking at that thing's massive. And then I see these shoulders sticking straight out, these big square shoulders. And I'm thinking, bears don't look like that.
Yeah.
Bears are slope shouldered, right? And then I see in front of it knees sticking up like it's crouching.
And I'm going like, no.
None of this makes sense.
Bears sit down on their haunches, or they sit down on their behind and their feet sit straight out. They don't crouch. So what kind of bear
Where
is
was this?
This is in Western Maryland.
Maryland?
Before I moved to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking about it, and I'm just staring at this thing, and the cognitive dissonance is raging.
Yeah.
Because I never thought about Bigfoot before that. I didn't have any idea about it. Right? And I'm sitting there just trying to think, what kind of bear is this? And then I went back in the house and everything was fine. And 5 years later, I'm down in Orlando and I have insomnia and I'm trying to fight through it. And I'm flipping through the channels at 3 a.m. and a documentary on Bigfoot comes on. And I say, oh, this is going to put me to sleep. Right? And I watched.
I bet you didn't sleep.
Well, I watched for 15 minutes. And then a guy from Washington State talked about his encounter, which was he heard a commotion out on his deck, and he went out and looked, and over in the corner where the deck met the house was something crouching in the corner. And he described what it was, and it was about a 95% match to what I had seen before. Right? 5 years later, 1,000 miles removed from where I was, I broke out into a cold sweat.
Yep.
Chill went down my spine. My hands were shaking. I go into the bathroom to put some water on my face. There's no color in my face at all. Okay, and the realization of what was there and what it could have done to me absolutely terrified me. And I was in a stupor for 3 days.